Your Honor, when investigators arrived on scene, the home was not secure, homeowners were not present, and exigency circumstances still existed as the fire was just extinguished. Exigency circumstances is the principle established by the courts that the fire department has legal authority to enter a property to extinguish a fire and determine the origin and cause of the fire, an act that is protection of the public welfare. In Michigan v. Tyler, the courts determined that officials may remain on the scene of a fire for a reasonable time after it has been extinguished to determine its cause because, quote, prompt determination of the fire's origin may be necessary to prevent its reoccurrence, as through the detection of continued dangers such as faulty wiring or a defective furnace. Immediate investigation may also be necessary to preserve evidence from intentional or accidental destruction. End of quote. The courts also determined that an immediate threat that the blaze might rekindle presents an exigency that will justify a warrantless and non-consensual post-fire investigation. Quote, immediate investigation may also be necessary to preserve evidence from intentional or accidental destruction. End of quote. In this case, the fire department could not complete the investigation because another structure fire with children trapped was dispatched. Because of these circumstances, the arrival of the investigator shortly after the fire department left constitutes a continuation of the fire investigation into origin and cause under exigency circumstances. In Michigan v. Clifford, the courts initially determined that the basement inspection conducted by Lieutenant Breyer 6 hours after the fire was extinguished was an actual continuation of the original entry to fight the fire, as that term is used in Tyler. Michigan v. Clifford also determined, and I quote, at least where a homeowner has made a reasonable effort to secure his fire-damaged home after the blaze has been extinguished and the fire and police units have left the scene, we hold that a subsequent post-fire search must be conducted pursuant to a warrant, consent, or the identification of some new exigency. End of quote. In our case, the fire investigation was done within a short time after the fire was extinguished, while the owners were away from the premise and before the premise had been fully secured from trespass. In these circumstances, the search of the residence to determine the cause and origin of the fire was reasonable. In conclusion, Your Honor, homeowners did not make a reasonable effort to secure their home after the fire. Exigency circumstances still existed as determined by the case of Michigan v. Tyler, as to preserve evidence from intentional or accidental destruction. Investigation shortly after the fire department left the scene constitutes a continuation of the original entry to fight fire under exigency circumstances, as decided in Michigan v. Clifford. For these reasons, I strongly believe that our fire department were within our rights to make entry to determine cause and origin of the fire. In closing, I want to note the overwhelming evidence found on the scene and why the defendant is trying so hard to remove the evidence discovered that day. The photo of the defendant's home has irregular burn patterns caused by ignitable liquids. As you can see, we have heavy burn patterns here, here, and here, as demonstrated by the purple lines. We also have medium burn patterns here, 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 and here, as indicated by the yellow outlines. The green indicate the splatters of an ignitable liquid. You can see here, here, here. There's some samples collected here. There's unburned here. We also have splatter patterns up here, down here. As you can see, this is an irregular fire that is burning. There's multiple ignition points, and the pattern up the wall is irregular. When irregular burn patterns are discovered in a fire, samples are collected to determine what type of liquid the fire consumed to destroy the property. Ignitable liquid is one source of fire or fuel arsonists use to set fires. In my professional opinion, I believe that this is the case here. That ends my position, and I file a motion that the evidence be considered for this case. Thank you.